What a headshot! What a head!
How's it, guys? This is Dayvy, FPL, and welcome back to the Fantasy Premier League video here on my channel. Now in this video, I'll be taking you through my very own team selection for the upcoming double game week 35. So now that game week 34 has basically come to an end. I know we do have the fixture tonight, Brighton versus Man City, but the game week's over for myself as my full starting 11 has already featured. So to start off this kind of team selection, I'll be giving you guys the updated rank. As you guys will know, we used the free hit in double game week 34, so I'll show you guys why it was a massive success. And then with one transfer and 1.1 million in the bank, I'll show you guys my transfer plan before ending the video with the final team selection for double game week 35. So that's what you guys are interested in. Sit back, relax, and let's get straight into it. So as mentioned, double game week 34 was the week I chose to activate the free hit chip, and it's been a massive success. As you guys can see, the current rank is 10k, so yes, about 10k and 200 places. And considering the fact that we were 41k last game week, that's a massive green arrow. So the free hit has been an absolute success, and that's thanks to the 140 points scored, and I do believe that might be the highest points I've ever scored in FPL. It's a ridiculous game week rank that almost looks like an overall rank, and the total overall points is 2,191. Now for the upcoming game week 35, as mentioned, I've got one free transfer and 1.1 in the bank, and he might actually be forced to take a -4, -8 hit this week due to kind of injury concerns. So before we run over my actual team and where the points came from, how did your game week 34 go? Was it a green arrow? Was it a red arrow? And did anyone actually beat the total points I scored this week? I've seen some massive scores, but some pretty low ones. It's a very volatile game week. Now luckily this week we didn't need our bench. As you guys can see, not many points were scored. We've got Neto that scored only 1 point, McBurney with 2 points after being injured for the United game, and then Kilman and Senesi blanked in the first fixture, but Bournemouth got a clean sheet in the second. So as mentioned, luckily no bench points were needed this week. The full starting 11 did feature, as you would expect on a free hit. Now the goalkeeper we chose at the end of the deadline stream was actually Pickford. Who would have thought 2 clean sheets even against Liverpool? He got 8 points in the first game and 10 points last night. So massive 18 points, so massive swing there because we were considering Henderson, and I think he ended up on 5 points. So very kind of lucky there. Who would have thought that Pickford, as mentioned, would keep 2 clean sheets, especially with Liverpool as one of the games. Now unfortunately, with that kind of clean sheet for Everton, Liverpool didn't keep a clean sheet, and therefore Van Dijk ended the game week on only 2 points. Now if you guys went for Trent, a still pretty kind of decent return. I think he ended up on 10 points. And he was definitely the one to go for after starting both games in double game week 34. As soon as I saw him start the first game, I thought he was going to start the second one, so the regret was already going to be there. So no bullet header for Virgil this week, and no clean sheets either. Liverpool have really dropped off a cliff in terms of form. Luckily though, the saviour of our game week was that double up in the Arsenal defence, Gabriel and Ben White. So let's start off with Gabriel. 2 clean sheets, what more can you kind of ask for? No bonus points, which is a little bit unlucky, but 12 points is absolutely massive. What's even more massive though is the 26 points that Ben White scored after getting a 20-pointer or 2 goals and a clean sheet in the last game. So Arsenal absolutely thrashing Chelsea 5-0, Ben White getting 2 goals. This pick over Saliba couldn't have gone any better. So that's the kind of variation we did. We went for kind of a boring pick with Gabriel and the more exciting pick Ben White, and that really paid off at the end of the day. So when your defense is looking this stacked with a Pickford 18-pointer and a Ben White 26-pointer, you know it's going to be an absolute bang of a game week. Now the midfield department started off a little bit slow with the Arsenal side. Saka ended up on 9 points after getting an assist against Chelsea, but when the team is winning 5-0, would have really loved Saka to get more returns. I said this over on Twitter, but if you guys did go for Havertz or Odegaard over Saka, really congrats on taking the courage to do that. I went for the boring pick, the high effective ownership pick, and he scored quite a few points less than the other 2. Even worse though was the double up in the Liverpool attack. Luis Diaz and Mo Salah both blanked in both fixtures. So Luis Diaz last night ended up getting booked, same with Salah. Salah was my captain though, so that's 3 points doubled to 6. And as mentioned with Van Dijk, Liverpool's form is completely terrible at the moment. Now I can't really say that Luis Diaz didn't have his chances. Last night he actually hit the post, was pretty unlucky, and seemed like the only kind of Liverpool attacker on form. Mo Salah is looking completely lost on the football pitch. Don't you know what's happened to him? And that is quite worrying as I do own him in my original team. But luckily, the double up that did come in clutch was the Crystal Palace one. Elisa unfortunately was benched last night though. So yes, this might have been an expectation, just came back from injury, his minutes looked to be managed, but I thought he might get 60-60 in both games. That wasn't the case though, and Ayew ended up getting an assist for the first Crystal Palace goal, but Eze and him ended up blanking. That was all forgiven though after the first game. I mean, 11 and 12 pointer, that was absolutely magic. So both of them ended with a pretty decent score. I just wish that maybe Luis Diaz scored that goal, but I guess that would have wiped out the Pickford clean sheet. And Salah blanking wasn't the worst thing in the world, as he was kind of a high effective ownership captain. But now let's go over our forward line, and Dom Solanke was the kind of very generic pick. He scored in the first game but blanked in the second game, but there wasn't that many other forwards that actually outperformed him. So I'm perfectly fine going for him as a boring pick. As mentioned, 8 points is fine, but it's nothing compared to our other striker, Mateta. So the absolute giant of double game week 34 was definitely the Crystal Palace forward Mateta. He scored a massive 29 points, even outperforming Ben White's 26. So 2 goals in the first game and an assist, and then 2 goals last night against Newcastle, took him to that massive score with a 16 and a 13 pointer. So I've seen some people do the kind of Haaland to Mateta move. If you guys don't know, Haaland might miss out tonight, or at least that's the probable situation. That would have been a massive 29 point gain. So happy that we did go for the Crystal Palace triple up. Definitely seemed like it was where it was at, but I guess Henderson and Munoz got a clean sheet last night. So this is where the 140 points came from. The rank is 10k as mentioned. I do expect that to go down tonight with no Man City coverage, but to say the free hit was a success would be an understatement. As mentioned, it's not just about me. How did you guys do in the comments down below, and how's that overall rank looking at this stage of the season? Now before we go over the team selection, let's talk about the transfer plan quickly. I'm actually going to go over kind of 2 parts here, because there are some probable moves and some definite ones. Now I do have 1 free transfer and 1.1 in the bank, so if I do more than 1 transfer it'll be for a hit, and I'm actually looking at a -4, -8 this week. So the most definite move at the moment is going to be Udogie out. The reason for this, if you guys haven't seen, he's out for the rest of the season after getting surgery for a leg injury. So unfortunately he won't feature again, and with Spurs having the double game weeks coming up, he's a definite transfer out, and he is quite expensive. So if I do just take Udogie out, I've got about 6.1 to spend, and therefore I can get most defenders I want. Now there are kind of 2 variations that I'm looking at. The first one is to do a straight swap for Pedro Porro, but the thing about Spurs is their fixtures are pretty tough. So I'll ask you guys, in game week 35 against Arsenal at home and Chelsea away, how many clean sheets do you think that Porro will get? To be honest, I think the answer is probably going to be 0, but he does offer some attacking threat off those set pieces. But when you guys are looking at a defender, to not go for clean sheets is not super optimal. But don't worry, I will probably be having him by game week 37's bench boost anyways. So do I think it's another defender that could outperform Pedro Porro over the next 2 fixtures when he has Arsenal, Chelsea and then Liverpool? I guess with the way Liverpool are attacking at the moment, that's probably a clean sheet, but I would like the odds of an easier opponent. So that's why at the current moment, the more probable move might be going for Fabian Schär. I know that Crystal Palace just beat them 2-0, but I do still back the Newcastle defense. The reason for that kind of backing is they are facing Sheffield United at home and then Burnley away, and that might be 2 clean sheets at the moment. So will Fabian Schär outperform Pedro Porro over the next 2 weeks? I think he might actually, and that's why I'm looking at going for him. The only downside to this is that if I do want to go for an Anthony Gordon, I already own an Isaac and a Dan Burn, so this completes my triple up for Newcastle. But this transfer does look more definite. He rose in price last night, don't worry, I haven't done the move, but this move is looking quite likely. There are other variations I could go for, a Man City defender for example, but I do prefer kind of how nailed Fabian Schär is at the moment, but Newcastle's defense hasn't been that great recently. So I'm going to jump to the actual team selection before going over the probable transfers, and those will be from -4, -8. Now with this kind of game week being a wildcard week, the jealousy and the eyes are kind of always drawn to the best team possible, and that's why it might actually be better to be conservative this week and save the hits. You guys can let me know your thoughts in the comments down below as we go through the team, but a lot of this is going to depend on injury news as well as early team sheet leaks. So the bench this week isn't looking that great, but we do have some options that could come off if needed, namely Garnacho against Burnley at home or Van Hecke against Bournemouth. Would probably prefer the Brighton defender to stay on the bench, as I think Bournemouth score against them. So the 2 options, Garnacho and Onana against Burnley at home, I'm probably less uncomfortable kind of not starting Garnacho than Onana, as it is conceded 2 to Sheffield United. But at least we have some bench coverage with the midfielder if needed, and he might actually need it this game week. So if Onana's on the bench, Petrovic will be between the sticks. Here's the double game week of Aston Villa and Spurs. Can I see too many clean sheets? Probably not, but maybe some save points. Just kind of hope that maybe Chelsea do keep a clean sheet against maybe Aston Villa, as I probably will own the Spurs assets, but that's wishful thinking probably. Now if I do the Fabian Schär move, I'll have the double up in defense for Newcastle. Against Sheffield United though at home, that should be a clean sheet, but stranger things have happened. Literally every time I do go against Sheffield United, it comes back to bite me from a defensive point of view, but I guess Fabian Schär offers some attacking threat as well. Now the option that might actually be on the chopping block if he's injured is going to be Gusto. If you guys didn't know, he missed the Arsenal game because he was being medically assessed. That doesn't seem too positive in my opinion, and with the injuries he's had recently, I have my doubts of his starting position in the double game week. So definitely one position at the moment. If Gusto's injured, Van Heek will come off the bench, but I'd probably prefer to go for another asset. Now midfield department, starting off with Heung-min Son, the double game week. Arsenal, Chelsea, definitely going to target that Chelsea game, as Arsenal's defense at the moment is rock solid. Now I'm not going to sell Heung-min Son though, am I, before double game week, but you notice I don't have the Campsey armband on him. So my captain this week will be Chelsea's Cole Palmer, as long as he's back from that illness he suffered. He also missed out on the Arsenal game. If he is back though, even though Chelsea lost so dramatically, I'll still back him to get a few points, and you know Chelsea and their penalties. So between Son and Palmer, it just comes down to that Arsenal game. I'd rather back Palmer with two easier fixtures, and that's why he's my captain. Now the next option might be quite controversial, but yes, Mo Salah is still in my team. That is a worry, I do understand. But the thing about Liverpool is they play the first kickoff of Game Week 35. So what my understanding is I'm hoping that we get some early team sheet leaks. If Salah's starting the game, I'll probably just keep him, as that West Ham defense can't be trusted. So yes, it might be regrettable that I am keeping the Liverpool attacker, but maybe he remembers how to play football this week. At least that's what I hope. Then a last option, Phil Foden, just make sure that he starts tonight against Brighton or is on the bench, because he missed training early in the week. Pep did come out and say though that he is perfectly fine apparently, and therefore I'm confident of him starting in Nottingham Forest. You guys know Man City at the top of the league, they have to win the games in hand, and therefore I'm pretty confident of us starting Game Week 35. The same I guess could be said about Erling Haaland. He's going to be out for tonight's game against Brighton, but apparently it isn't a big injury. But if he is going to be missing, don't worry, we've got Garnacho on the bench. So let's hope that we get some early team sheet leaks, or maybe Pep tomorrow is more confident of his starting position, as there's a doubt at the moment. We might actually need Garnacho though for Darwin Núñez. Like with Salah, I'm going to wait for some early team sheet leaks, and if he is actually benched, I probably will take him out. I'll explain my logic shortly in terms of the transfer plan, but the last option on the team is going to be Isaac against Sheffield United. So I do actually feel quite worried going to this game with only one Newcastle attacker, but they did just blank last night against Crystal Palace. So in a perfect world, if you guys on wildcard, Gordon and Isaac would definitely be a lock. I'm just going to have to hope that Isaac can cover him. But he completes our starting 11, and as you guys can see, if everyone does feature, the team does look okay. Not kind of wildcard okay, but one free transfer okay. But this might all change with some early team sheet leaks as well as injury news. When you guys do look at this team though, are there any other moves that you guys would make? Just remember, I've already done the Schär in for a Dogi move, and I think it's actually could pay off in the future game weeks. But now let's go on to that transfer plan, and as mentioned, there's two options I'm currently looking at taking out. The first one, Darwin Núñez, and the second one, Gusto. So Gusto is a little bit more easy in terms of injury news. If he is out for Game Week 35, I'd probably look to replace him. Otherwise, Van Heek will come off my bench against Bournemouth. With Darwin Núñez, if we get some early team sheet leaks that I'm pretty confident about, as I've been getting the Liverpool team sheet for a few game weeks now. So if Darwin does get benched, I'll probably be taking him out, as I would probably want to lose him in the future game weeks anyways. With Game Week 37's bench boost, I probably won't keep him for that Aston Villa game, and therefore might actually be worth taking him out for a hit this week to get those points. So with these two assets, I might actually do a switcheroo with my Chelsea triple up. The first player is going to be Darwin out for Nicholas Jackson. I know what you guys might be thinking, this is a very kind of like-for-like switch, a non-finisher for another non-finisher, but at least Jackson has 2 double game weeks in the next 3 fixtures. So this move actually to me looks pretty good. I know Jackson isn't the best kind of player, but he has been getting some good stats over the past couple game weeks, and then I'm getting another Chelsea player for Game Week 35. Now because I'm kind of bringing another Chelsea option, I have to drop one of them, and that's where Gusto comes in. So whether Gusto's actually injured or not, I might still do this move, but I have my doubts on his fitness for Game Week 35. So Gusto will have to be removed as my Chelsea triple up, and therefore I'm looking at another defender. At the moment it's going to be a Man City one, namely Ruben Diaz. Now I might actually not be able to afford this by the deadline, so Ruben Diaz, Guardiola, I'm perfectly fine going for either option, or what I can do is actually go for Gabriel from Arsenal, but you guys know he doesn't have a double game week. That Arsenal defense though at the moment is just too hard to ignore, and in Game Week 36 against Bournemouth at home and Game Week 38 against Everton at home, those are basically locked in clean sheets. I might slightly play the odds though, and just hope that Man City assets do start most games, and that's why Ruben Diaz and Guardiola are my favourites at the moment. So yes, this will be from -8, Darwin out for Jackson, and Gusto to someone like a Guardiola or Ruben Diaz, but I feel like this might be worth it over the future game weeks. Now stay tuned to my deadline stream to make sure that you guys have the most up-to-date team as possible. I always stream 1 hour before the deadline, and I'll post a notification over on Twitter. Now we spoke about my transfer plans. Do you guys agree with them? But you guys can also let me know if you have any transfer plan dilemmas, and I'll try to help you guys out as far as possible. You guys can also ask me on my Discord server where I'm slightly more active. It's the second link in the description. But this is basically going to wrap up the video, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please don't forget to like if you did and subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And make sure those notifications are turned on for the deadline stream coming up 1 hour before the deadline. But I'm signing off. It's been Dayvy FPL and I'm out. Cheers, bye.